I'm Mike and welcome to the workshop. Now if you've seen my channel before, you'll know that I love using these. My Japanese chisels. The steel and the build quality is just so incredible. And I want them to be protected. So if I'm doing a project that I need my finer chisels outside the workshop, I'll normally use a roll-up tote like this, to store them, but let's be honest. That's not respecting these tools. They deserve something better. So this week, I'm going to make a Japanese style toolbox for my Japanese chisels. So, let's roll the intro! Now, traditionally, when Japanese carpenters will be making toolboxes like this, they just use the material that they had to hand. So what I've done here is I have basically my last pieces of my current batch of palletwood. That's what I'm going to make it out of here. I've glued them up to make larger panels so I can cut everything up. Now the design, if anyone's familiar with Japanese toolboxes, is very Japanese toolboxy. So, we have our basic toolbox here. The construction traditionally is nails and glue, which is what I'm going to use. And then in the top we have this very clever wedge that holds the top in place. So we're just making a basic box and a slightly tricky lid. So the first thing I'm going to do is I've worked out all my sizes, so I'm just going to cut them up and then we can start working on making this thing. So just a quick tip here. If you're hammering near an edge or into thinner material and you don't want the wood to split, the solution is really simple. You take your nail, you're just going to give a few taps to flatten out that point. So you can see it there now. That point is flat. What that means then is that as this goes into the material, it's going to crush, not cut the fibres, and it stops the split. So at this point I ran out of the nicer, smaller headed nails I had, so I just turned down the heads on a few of these regular wire nails just to have that nice visual consistency between the nails on the side and on the top. This trick of using the masking tape to mark everything and line it up, I actually got from the video that actually inspired this whole build, which is a video on how to make a Japanese toolbox by Hiroto Yamazaki. I'll put a link to his channel down below. His stuff is brilliant, and I just, yeah. The wedge in place here, make sure that you have it nice and tight, and again the masking tape is meant to hold it in place. It did shift a little bit when I was gluing it. I ended up making a new wedge, which you'll see in a little while, but it worked out for the benefit because a bit of contrast looks really nice. That's the box done. Now it's time to start working on dividers. So, I've been having some fun with layout here for how we're going to make this. So just zoom in and give you the basic idea. Right, so in this we're going to have a tray, and in the tray I'm going to have my shorter chisels. We'll solve that in a second. And then in the very base I'm going to have my longer chisels. This is because they're longer, and putting them on the tray is causing issues with getting the lid out. So these two pieces will be glued into the side. This tray will then slide in and sit down on those two pieces. When they're glued in, the lid goes over the top. I'll put some sort of mechanism here to lift this up because I don't have quite enough space. And that's basically it. So what I did was I took the time to go along here and make a template of where the centers are for these. And the basic construction method will be, I'll find the page, be here. So for the handles, we're going to have something similar to what you would have for a wine rack. So these scoops out, the handles will sit in it, and then on the ends they're going to be in little cradles. Now the design of this cradle will be something like this. So I'm going to have a bottom piece that I'll cut the slot out in, an end piece to stop the chisel going up and down, and then a capping piece to stop it falling out. This is mainly for these guys because as I lift out this tray I don't want my chisels to fall out, so I need something that holds them there in place. I'll put this piece across, and then here I'm just going to put in little temporary pieces behind the handles to stop them going this way. So what I did was I took this template with my centers, I just marked it on this piece of scrap here with a 10mm gap, and then up half the radius of the screw hole, or sorry, up the radius of the drill hole that I'm going to need to create this kind of scoop. So all these will finish at the same point in the bottom and it'll be the same. So the simple next step for this one is to just get out my Forstner bits, drill these holes, and then cut this off, and that's the design of the cradle. So we'll go back to our template here now. I'll mark my centers again. This time we'll be centered on the chisels.
this is the point where I decided to make a new wedge, because the old one just wasn't fitting as tightly as I wanted. But the nice mixture of the sapele here with the palletwood turned out pretty nice.
Yeah, that's it. One final thing I did here was I just took, as you see in there, I just took part of the old wedge, cut it down, just to wedge this top plate in, stop it rattling. And with that done, well, it's time for the glorious return of Danish Oil Time.
And that's this week's video. I'm really happy with how this turned out, and happy to have somewhere safe to store my Japanese chisels. So, thank you as always for staying to the end of the video. Make sure you like, share, comment, subscribe. It means so much to me. And of course, absolutely do try this at home.